It's difficult to get a sense of Catholic-Protestant relationship during this period. There are no reports of sectarian strife or much political agitation, apart from some excitement at elections. The landlord of most of the parish, O'Hara, seems to have been well regarded for the way he dealt with his tenants. The joint participation of Catholic and Protestant clergy in the relief committees at times of hardship and famine suggests cooperation at difficult times. In January 1817, the parish of Killoran Relief Committee included Church of Ireland clergymen, Reverend Josiah Hearn and Reverend John Stack, and Father Daniel O'Connor, the parish priest in Rockfield, as well as landlords Charles O'Hara and Meredith Thompson from Knockadoo. They collected subscriptions and wrote to absentee landlords, including Edward Dodwell, who replied from England promising help. They bought meal and they sold it at reduced rates to help relieve distress. Then there was the Great Famine. In August 1846, O'Hara wrote to the government-appointed Relief Committee, describing the condition of the people, detailing his personal relief measures and appealing for relief. The Relief Committee's advice was to form a committee, ask for subscriptions from landlords and others, and they would give grants in proportion to the money subscribed. The Killarney Relief Committee included Archdeacon Verscoyle of Rathbarran and Father Patrick Hurst, PP Killoran. The chairman was Charles W. Cooper, the treasurer was Meredith Thompson Knockadoo, and the secretary was Dr. Samuel Kelly of Killarney. Other members were local landowners James Simpson, Thomas Smith, David Lillis and Thomas McManus. In August 1846 it was reported in the Sligo Journal that for the previous 6 months more than 300 men were employed daily by O'Hara and that he had made liberal provisions of oatmeal for them. It was also reported that Charles K. O'Hara went to Liverpool and purchased a cargo of Indian corn. On the 1st of February 1847, Archdeacon Verscoyle wrote as Deputy Chairman of the Killarney Committee to the Society of Friends Relief Committee in Dublin, imploring their help to establish a soup kitchen in the village. 9/10 of the people needed public relief, he said. When he completed and returned a form, he was granted £30 towards setting up the soup kitchen. By April, there were 2 boilers in operation, each holding 100 gallons of stirabout, which was distributed free locally. In May 1847, O'Hara's agent wrote that he hoped to bring 40 to 50 tons of corn to Killarney to be ground locally. He hoped to be able to give out 6 ton weekly until September. A letter to the Sligo Journal of December 1847 praised O'Hara for his generosity in distributing clothes, coats, trousers, petticoats and blankets to more than 200 families on his estate, and in supplying them with bread, beef and mutton. In April 1847, Meredith Thompson of Knockadoo wrote to the Society of Friends looking for relief for the Knockadoo area. His wife, Kate P. Thompson, completed the necessary forms and said the poor of her area at the western side of the parish, at least 700 people, had to walk to Killarney every day for food at the boiler there. From then on, the Society of Friends regularly granted her food. By mid-May, she had a boiler and reported that she had 3 boilings a day, but still could not supply all. By June 1847, she estimated that not one of the population of 1,100 in her area could provide 1 meal for themselves, and that all were dependent on the soup kitchen. The main effect of the famine on the parish was to dramatically reduce the population, which dropped from 4,944 in 1841 to 2,638 in 1851. The percentage population drop for Connacht was 28%, and for County Sligo, 29%. Killoran parish drop was 37%. In the 6 townlands at the west of the parish, which Kate Thompson was active in, the drop was 46%. There was hardship again in the early 1860s. A parish relief committee was established. Assistance was again received from the Society of Friends, and the parish priest, Father Luke Hannon, wrote to O'Hara asking for assistance for his tenants. This was forthcoming, and Father Hannon contributed a letter of thanks to O'Hara, which was published in the Sligo Champion in 1862. Now, as at all times, the poor of this parish have found in him their sincere friend. His liberality and bounty have been sensibly felt in these times of distress. A similar letter from Father Hannon thanking Meredith Thompson of Knockadoo for monetary assistance was also published in the Champion in 1862. Father Patrick Lowry was PP of Killoran from 1869 to 1878, and there's a number of interesting letters from him in the O'Hara papers in the National Library. In July 1869, he wrote asking O'Hara to receive him as tenant for the house and lands normally held by the Killarney Roman Catholic parish priest. O'Hara presented his compliments and said he had no objection to him as a tenant. On the 12th of January 1871, Father Lowry wrote thanking O'Hara for his invitation to amusements at Anamore, but regretted that he couldn't attend because of previous engagement of importance, adding, "It would afford me much pleasure indeed to witness this further evidence of the kindly interest you take in the happiness of your tenants and workmen." And then, on the 21st of November 1871, Father Lowry wrote to the landlord saying that he had heard that he was to be summoned for coursing in Rathmore. He denied the charge, saying that his hound had chased a hare in Meamlaw while he was on clerical work there, and pleaded, "Situated as I am in this place, which I wish I never saw, in the very remotest corner of my diocese, away from friends, with no society and not a great deal to do, life would be a burden without some amusement or recreation. This is why I keep a hound." Correspondence like these suggest a level of friendship had developed between them. In 1878, Father Lowry left this remote corner and was appointed parish priest of Mullabrina. The latter half of the 19th century saw what was called the Second Reformation, driven by organisations such as the Irish Church Missions to the Roman Catholics, founded in 1849. It established a mission in Sligo town in 1852 and was especially active in the Killoran area. It was strongly supported by Reverend George Garrett, curate of Killoran from 1847 to 1862, who was described by the Sligo Champion as curate of Killoran and missionary to the Roman Catholics. As this newspaper report says, when curate George Garrett left Rathbarran in 1862, the Killarney Young Men's Bible class presented him with a beautiful Bible as a token of their esteem and their gratitude for his painstaking exertions to instruct them in the word of life. The Rathbarran Sunday School girls presented his wife with a Sunday service as a token of regard and affection. English Anglicans contributed large sums to help to convert the Roman Catholics of Ireland to Protestantism. They were encouraged to contribute by reports of large-scale conversions. Support from Irish Protestant clergy and bishops was not general, though Thomas Plunkett, Bishop of Tuam, 1839 to 1866, was an ardent supporter. They were very active, especially in Connemara, and their activities during the famine led to accusations of superism. In 1862, Archdeacon Hamilton Townsend was appointed to Killoran. He was described as a vigorous missioner and an Irish-speaking clergyman who had 17 years' experience of Irish church missions work. He had come to prominence in his previous parish of Tourmakeedy in Mayo during what was called the War in Partry. This was between the Catholic Church, in the shape of the formidable Roman Catholic Archbishop of Tuam, John McHale, and the local parish priest, Father Patrick Lavelle, and the Irish Church missions, led by the Church of Ireland Bishop of Tuam, Thomas Plunkett, who owned an estate there, and the Reverend Hamilton Townsend, parish rector there. This bitter battle was the subject of numerous court cases reported in the national and even international media and raised in the House of Commons. There were reports of violent incidents, houses of jumpers being burned, a Bible being burned, shots discharged at various individuals, including Hamilton Townsend, and evictions of tenants by the bishop. Townsend's appointment to Killoran as Archdeacon of Achonry in 1862 was seen as a reward for his work in Tourmakeedy. A Dublin newspaper said, "The Bishop of Tuam has manifested his approval of Mr. Townsend by appointing him to one of the highest dignities in his gift." This is quite a contrast with Father Lowry's attitude to the parish as a remote place. Hamilton Townsend was born in County Down, educated at the Ventry Mission in Kerry and in Trinity College Dublin, and was ordained in 1850. He was Archdeacon of Achonry from 1862 to 1883 and Dean of Achonry from 1883 until his death. He was a canon of St. Patrick's Cathedral, Dublin, from 1875. Archdeacon Townsend report for 1865 praised the existing state of the local mission in Killoran and Kilvarnet, telling of 20 Catholic children on the roll of Crevan School out of the total of 83, and reporting that 6 Irish teachers taught the scriptures to 60 or 70 Catholics each month. Townsend introduced Thomas Crump, a mission agent from Tourmakeedy, as scripture reader, Sunday school teacher, and as teacher in Crevan School, which was sometimes referred to as Rin School. This was one of the 2 Church of Ireland parish schools. The other was in Coolani. O'Hara also had a school in Anamore, and Percival one in Temple House. Later, Crump's daughter, Agnes, taught in Coolani Church of Ireland National School and played the harmonium in the church. The attendance at Crevan School declined as national schools were founded and developed. The government had proposed a national school system for Ireland in 1831, which naively envisaged that local schools would have a mixture of denominations, with clergy from each on the school board. This was originally opposed by all denominations. In 1841, Rome allowed each bishop to decide on the merits of the system, and most adopted the new system. In 1850, the Roman Catholic parish priest in Killoran, Father Patrick Hurst, established Rockfield National School on land leased from O'Hara. National schools were established in 1853 at Kappa and in 1862 at Killoran in the parish. The Church of Ireland maintained its opposition to the national school system and established the Church Education Society in 1839, which oversaw parish schools, including the 2 Killoran parish schools. An actual survey of attendance in June 1868 showed that in all of these schools except Kappa, there was some mixing of religions. Rockfield National School's 59 pupils included 20 Church of Ireland members, while Killoran National School's 81 included 8. In Killarney Church Education Society School, 10 of the 36 pupils were Roman Catholics, and of the 33 pupils in Rathbarran Church Education Society School, 3 were Roman Catholics. In 1860, Archbishop Beresford, the Church of Ireland primate, recommended to the General Synod that they all join the national school system. It's likely that Hamilton Townsend was opposed to this, and Killarney Church of Ireland School only became a recognised national school in 1897, 2 years after Hamilton Townsend's death. It was replaced by a new school at Lainey in October 1901. James Clark from Tyrone appears to have been the first school principal, and Elizabeth Hetherington from Tyrone was teaching there in 1911. Lainey School survived until 1975, when it was amalgamated with 3 others as St Paul's Colony. Rathbarran School never became a national school, and probably was closed when Killarney School did. Hamilton Townsend visited and spoke in various parts of England annually from around 1869 until 1892. There are reports of talks and sermons by him in English local newspapers, the Hampshire Independent, the Isle of Wight Observer, the Bristol Times, Sheffield Independent, Preston Herald, Leamington Spa Courier. The titles of some of his talks were The Blessings of the Reformation, Experiences of the Church of Rome, Romanizing Ritualism, The Present Condition and Prospects of Ireland. He took part in the continuing controversy around ritualism between the Puritan wing and the Anglo-Catholic wing of the Church of England, which by this stage, as a result of the Oxford movement and Tractarianism, had taken a strong hold. He spoke against Home Rule and used the phrase, "Home Rule will be Rome Rule." A report from the East Sussex Times, Tuesday, May the 16th, 1893, gives a description of him a couple of years before his death. The Dean of a Conry looks to be about 70 years of age, but is still full of life and vigour. In appearance, he is of middle height, with grey hair and a pleasant, kindly face, which is frequently lit up with a smile. The very reverend gentleman is a typical Irishman in every respect. Speaks the vernacular and has a deep-seated love for this distressful country. He possesses a full share of the ready wit for which the inhabitants of the Emerald Isle are proverbial. As an orator, he has a remarkable flow of language, and his delivery is characterised by all the eloquence which has made the Irish MPs so much in request at election times. He did display a sense of humour. In a talk in Ealing, London in 1888, he made fun of the Irish weather. He was quoted as saying, "In Ireland it rains 13 months out of the 12. And 3 cheers for old Ireland, and long may she reign." It's interesting to speculate on the reaction of the settled Church of Ireland community in the parish to the activities of the Irish Church missions. It seems that they were met for the most part with indifference and sometimes hostility from fellow Protestants. Townsend reported in 1866 that some members of the local Protestant community supported his efforts, but that there are many who are hinderers instead of being helpers, and these looked on his mission work with scorn and contempt. There's no evidence of any support for his work from O'Hara, and no doubt he mellowed with age. Here he is in 1880 working with the Rockfield Roman Catholic parish priest on a parish relief committee in a time of distress, just like his predecessors did. In his 1882 report to the Irish Church Missions, Hamilton Townsend described the amiable relationship locally between the denominations, stating that Catholics were generally friendly or indifferent, and remarked that there was less hostility than formerly. He told how Catholic clergymen from neighbouring parishes attended the funeral of his son the previous year, but didn't, of course, enter the church. The drying up of funds from England as a result of the religious census figures of 1861, a less supportive Bishop of Tuam from 1867, and the establishment of national schools all resulted in a decrease in the activities of the Irish Church Missions. So Townsend begins to talk less of conversions and more of efforts to strengthen the faith of his flock so they could resist the increasing power of Rome. He died here in 1895, being predeceased in 1893 by his only son at the age of 25, Charles Usher Townsend, who was a curate here. In his obituary, the Irish Ecclesiastical Gazette said, "He was well known both in England and Ireland as a champion of Protestantism, a pulpit orator and an attractive platform speaker. He took a deep interest in the Irish Church Mission Society and devoted much time to the advocacy of its cause." It's interesting to note that this obituary omits to mention his service in Tourmakeedy, County Mayo, during the turbulent times there, before his appointment to Killoran parish.